In the 5th year of our marriage, Jiu Mo Cheng brought a pregnant woman to me, and spoke with righteous indignation. Wana's father once did me a great favor. She was his last request before he passed away, and I must take responsibility for her, to protect her reputation from being tarnished. Jiu Mo Cheng even presented me with a divorce document. He promised not to make Lin Wana a concubine, and after they were married, he would take me back into the household as a co-wife, in my previous life. I cried and argued with him, unwilling to divorce, even after I was diagnosed with pregnancy. Just because Lin Wana said I didn't look like I was pregnant, Jiu Mo Cheng believed I was faking the pregnancy, deliberately targeting Lin Wana, scheming to ruin my reputation, and ultimately forcing me to drown myself in shame. Once again, I opened my eyes. This time, without hesitation, I voluntarily signed the divorce papers. Ching, don't worry, after Wana gives birth to our child after the wedding, I'll bring you back as a secondary wife. Jiu Mo Cheng held my hand, speaking to me in the gentlest of tones. I sat in the main seat, coldly watching Lin Wana's tears fall drop by drop. Sister Yanqing, I didn't want to either. But father said before he passed away that he didn't want me to be a concubine to another man. I know it's my fault, but I can't go against father's last wishes. Sister, I beg you to give us a chance. I won't compete with you for Mo Cheng. Jiu Mo Cheng helped her up with heartache, his eyes filled with tenderness. Wana, it's my fault, but rest assured, since you're carrying my child, I will definitely give you a proper status and not let you remain in an unclear situation. Lin Wana covered her stomach and obediently leaned against Jiu Mo Cheng's embrace, making me, sitting on the side, seem like a mere decoration. Jiu Mo Cheng looked back at me again, but his tone clearly showed signs of impatience. Yang Qing, you should understand that coming to discuss this with you is giving you face. I hope you don't act ungratefully. If you don't appreciate the good intentions, I have 1,000 ways to dissolve the marriage. Perhaps sensing his tone was too harsh, he gripped my hand and softened his voice slightly. Yang Qing, Wana's pregnancy has already been noticed by others. It can't be delayed any longer. You know, a girl's reputation is the most important thing. I finally loosened my grip. I naturally knew he wasn't lying. After all, in my previous life, because I refused to divorce him, he personally fed me a sedative and sent me to the bed of a strange man, ruining my innocence. The suffocating despair of sinking into the river is still fresh in my memory. Lin Wana looked at me with moist eyes. Sister Yanqing, I just want to give birth to this child with Brother Morching. Perhaps mentioning her sorrows, her voice softened by 2 degrees, and her tears flowed even more fiercely. Even if Brother Morching divorces me later and registers the child under your name, I won't say anything more. Before I could speak, Jiu Morching let go of my hand first and turned to embrace Lin Wana, who was on the verge of fainting from crying. What nonsense are you talking about, Wana? As the child's birth mother, you are a great hero of our general's estate. Who would dare to drive you away? I would be the first to object. As soon as he finished speaking, Jiu Mo Cheng glanced at me, and this time his tone clearly carried a hint of irritation. Shu Yanqing, all these years you have never been pregnant, bringing shame to the general's estate. You should have some self-awareness. I let out a bitter laugh, stopping him from saying anything further, my tone distant. I agree to the separation. After a pause, I raised my eyes to look at him again. But I want you to stay in Huayang for 3 years. With the wars stabilized and the country at peace. Staying in Huayang for 3 years is not a difficult task. Jiu Mo Cheng frowned and glanced at me, perhaps not understanding why I would make such a request. Mo Cheng Ge, Lin Wana placed his hand on her slightly rounded belly. Jiu Mo Cheng finally stopped hesitating and agreed, but that wasn't enough. I took out the prepared document and handed it to him. Jiu Mo Cheng looked at me with a complicated expression. Do we really have to do this? I didn't say anything. Just took the divorce papers and signed my name. Ji Mo Cheng sighed and signed the document without further comment. The moment I held the document, my heart seemed to settle, and I managed a rare smile. Returning to my room, I gently placed my hand on my stomach. In my previous life, it was at this time that I discovered I was pregnant. It was only at the end that, because of a single sentence from Lin Wanna, Ji Mo Cheng personally forced me to drink an abortion potion. If I were to say what my greatest regret was in my previous life, it would undoubtedly be this child. Fortunately, heaven has given me another chance. My personal maid, Xiao Kui, had tears in her eyes. Still indignant on my behalf, I gently touched Xiaozui's tear-stained face. Don't cry. Go buy 2 boat tickets for 3 days from now to Jiangnan. I'll take you home. 3 days later, on the day of Ji Mo Cheng's wedding, I will also be leaving. The door was slammed open with a bang. Ji Mo Cheng, his face filled with panic, grabbed my hand tightly. Yang Qing, where do you say you're going? Didn't we agree that once Wanna gives birth, I would bring you back to the mansion? I forced a smile and pushed his hand away. How could that be? He stared intently at me, making sure I wasn't lying. Before finally relaxing a bit, Yang Qing, after Wanna gives birth, I will treat you well. I nodded faintly, probably stimulated by what I said earlier. Ji Mo Cheng stayed in my room all day, accompanying me, and wouldn't even let me out of his sight for a moment. He held my hand, stroking it gently as if it were a precious treasure. Don't leave me, Yang Qing. But by evening, an old woman rushed into the courtyard in a panic, crying and kneeling at Ji Mo Cheng's feet. General, please go see Miss Wanna. She says her stomach is unwell. Ji Mo Cheng abruptly stood up, not even glancing at me, his voice filled with urgency. What? Then I'll go take a look now. Only when he reached the door did he remember me inside, his face showing regret. Yang Qing, Wanna can't wait. Before I could react, he had already disappeared into the night. Xiao Kui's voice was hoarse. How could the general do this, leaving in the middle of the night? How many servants will laugh at the young lady now? I let out a bitter laugh. He no longer had me in his heart, so naturally, he wouldn't stay for me. When Ji Mo Cheng brought Lin Wanna over, I was basking in the sun in the courtyard. After a few days apart, her belly had swelled even more, and she leaned against Ji Mo Cheng's chest as if she had no bones. Something wrong? Ji Mo Cheng's face carried a hint of apology. Yang Qing, your courtyard has excellent lighting, which is perfect for Wanna's pregnancy. I sat up and let out a cold laugh. So you want me to give up my courtyard? Lin Wanna's voice was soft as she leaned against Ji Mo Cheng's embrace. If Sister Yang Qing doesn't want to, that's fine. I just want the child to have a good environment to grow up in. After all, this is Mo Cheng's own flesh and blood. Ji Mo Cheng gently brushed away the teardrops at the corner of her eye, full of heartache. When he spoke again, his tone was only harsh. Yang Qing, you're too immature. Moreover, tomorrow I'm marrying WNR, and by etiquette, this courtyard should be for her. I lowered my head and let out a bitter laugh. Almost forgot I've already divorced Ji Mo Cheng. Besides, I'm leaving soon. I'll pack up shortly. Lin Wanna's voice continued behind me. Mo Cheng Ji, I don't like peach blossoms. Why not pull these peach trees out and plant roses instead? Ji Mo Cheng affectionately pinched the tip of her nose. As you wish. I love peach blossoms. So all the peach trees in the courtyard were planted by Ji Mo Cheng himself for me. He once promised under the peach tree that he would never betray me for the rest of his life. But now, I shook my head, thinking he probably didn't remember it anymore. While tidying up the room, Lin Wanna walked in with a coquettish laugh. Her eyes darted around, her smile full of mockery. This residence of the head mistress isn't much to look at, is it? I glanced at her. But my gaze was drawn to the jade bracelet on her wrist. Our family has dealt in jade, so I could immediately tell that her bracelet and mine came from the same source. However, hers was a top-grade imperial green, while mine was just a flawed piece with a few scattered green spots. I had been involved with the mining of that jade since the beginning, but the most exquisite piece had mysteriously disappeared. It turned out to have been given to her after Jiyu Mo Cheng arrived. He saw me staring at the bracelet. He quickly stepped in front of Lin Wanna with a panicked expression, afraid that I might do something to her. Unfortunately, I had no interest. Mo Cheng Ge, I heard that Sister Yang Qing is very skilled. I want to ask Sister to embroider my wedding dress. I didn't even think before saying no. Tears fell from her eyes. I know my sister doesn't like me, but since I was young, my father went to war, and I've endured a lot of hardships. Tomorrow is my wedding day, and I just want to look beautiful as I get married. Jiyu Mo Cheng gently wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes, clicking his tongue in annoyance. Yang Qing, why make it difficult for her? Wanna has it hard enough. What harm could it do to help her? He gently patted Lin Wanna, who was sobbing uncontrollably, his tone already a commanding order. This matter is settled. You will make Wanna's wedding dress. I quietly watched him for a long time before coldly saying, it can be done, but, I paused before continuing. But back then, I was renowned for my Suzhou embroidery and received the Emperor's commendation. If you want me to embroider your wedding dress, it's not impossible, but it will cost you 1,000 taels. Jiyu Mo Cheng paused for a moment, looking at me in disbelief. If it had been in the past, I would never have refused him, let alone bargained like this. He frowned. Don't be ridiculous. Yang Qing, I shook my head, my tone unchanged. Jiyu Mo Cheng, I'm not joking. For some reason, seeing Xu Yanqing like this, Jiyu Mo Cheng felt an inexplicable sense of unease. He suppressed the strange feeling and held Lin Wanna's hand. Forget it, I'll find the best embroiderer to make you the finest wedding gown. The day before her departure, Lin Wanna stood before me in a bright red wedding gown, her face full of pride. Look. This was specially made for me by the best embroiderer Mo Cheng found. Seeing no reaction from me, she continued, do you know what Mo Cheng said about you? That it's your fortune as a merchant's daughter to marry him. My hand gripping the sleeve suddenly tightened. When he sought my hand in marriage, he promised he wouldn't disdain my birth. I sneered coldly. Seeing that I remained silent, a rare trace of anger appeared on her face, but soon, as if thinking of something, her smile took on a sinister edge. Guess who Jiyu Mo Cheng will choose, you or me? As she spoke, she fell into the pond behind her, dressed in her bright red wedding gown. The next second, I was suddenly knocked over by a force, and before I knew it, I fell into the pond as well. The biting cold water of winter clung tightly to my skin, and it wasn't until I choked on 2 mouthfuls of cold water that I finally saw the figure, Jiyu Mo Cheng. He didn't even glance at me as he swam straight toward Lin Wanna. Even as he passed by me and heard my cries for help, he didn't stop. In the splashing water, I saw the triumphant gleam in Lin Wanna's eyes, and I read her lips. She was saying, I win. The icy pond water dragged me down. I suddenly remembered being drowned by the crowd in the pond in my previous life. Just like this, at that time, Jiyu Mo Cheng had already taken Lin Wanna ashore, standing on the bank looking down at me. Does this mean that even after being reborn, I still can't change the outcome of my death? I don't know where the courage came from, but I mustered all my strength to shout to Jiyu Mo Cheng on the shore, Jiyu Mo Cheng, I'm pregnant, please save me. Jiyu Mo Cheng's footsteps paused, but the next second, Lin Wanna grabbed his hand. Mo Cheng, my stomach hurts so much. Without hesitation, he picked up Lin Wanna and didn't even glance at me again, as I watched Jiyu Mo Cheng's retreating figure. My heart had never felt so utterly despaired, but I really want to live. Perhaps it was my sincerity that moved the heavens. As Xiao Kui heard my cries for help, the next morning, Jiyu Mo Cheng and Lin Wanna's wedding, Xiao Kui and I packed our luggage, taking all my dowry, and took one last look at this land before boarding the boat to Jiangnan. As for the promissory note signed by Jiyu Mo Cheng, I had already submitted it to the emperor. A general with military power confined to Huaiyang during peacetime is the best guarantee for imperial authority. Years pass, and our ties end here. For some reason, Jiyu Mo Cheng's heart was shrouded by a strange feeling. As the time to get married approached, he suddenly felt an overwhelming urge to see Xu Yanqing. But he was stopped. "Sir, the auspicious time is almost here. We should leave now." Jiyu Mo Cheng had no choice but to give up. But as he mounted the tall horse, a noise came from outside the house. Then someone pushed the door open. Jiyu Mo Cheng immediately recognized the eunuch from the emperor's side and quickly dismounted. The eunuch entered calmly. Could it be that the emperor had sent his personal eunuch for something urgent? Could there be another war? That would mean putting off the marriage to Lin Wanna for the time being. But for some reason, the thought of postponing the marriage to Lin Wanna gave him a strange sense of relief. Jiyu Mo Cheng, dressed in a bright red wedding gown, knelt down with a large group of people behind him. The eunuch glanced at Jiyu Mo Cheng and handed him the item in his hand. Jiyu Mo Cheng took the letter paper with suspicion. At a glance, he recognized it as the one Xu Yanqing had asked him to sign before. However, there was now an official seal stamped in the corner. Jiyu Mo Cheng's entire hand was trembling. "What is this, Your Honor? The Emperor has granted the decree for the next 10 years. The general may not leave Huaiyang without a summons. That is all I was tasked to convey. Please continue with your joyous celebration." "General." Jiyu Mo Cheng forced a strained smile. He hadn't expected Xu Yanqing to present this to the Emperor. But now that it had come to this, he could only suppress the myriad of emotions within him and bow to the eunuch before mounting his horse. Jiyu Mo Cheng couldn't understand why Xu Yanqing was so determined to keep him in Huaiyang, but deep down, he felt an inexplicable sense of unease. "Even sitting on the tall horse made my heart race." Jiyu Mo Cheng tried his best to shake off the strange thoughts in his mind. But when he saw Lin Wanna walking out in her red wedding gown, his heart skipped a beat. His mind was filled with scenes from his wedding with Xu Yanqing. After paying respects to the elders, he escorted Lin Wanna to the bridal chamber. While Jiyu Mo Cheng stayed in the front hall to entertain the guests, he drank a lot. But just didn't want to go to the bridal chamber. It wasn't until the night fell and the guests had mostly left that Jiyu Mo Cheng finally staggered and pushed open the door to the bridal chamber. The same scene, but under the veil was not the person he had hoped for. Seeing Lin Wanna's face full of makeup, Jiyu Mo Cheng thought of Xu Yanqing, who had married him at the age of 17. At that time, Xu Yanqing didn't even need to apply any makeup, just sitting there. One's heart would unconsciously follow her rhythm. Her every smile and frown seemed to dance on Jiyu Mo Cheng's mind. It wasn't until Lin Wanna called out to him that he finally snapped back to reality. Lin Wanna, with teary eyes, threw herself into his arms. "Mo Cheng, brother, Wanna has finally married you. You have no idea how happy Wanna is." But Jiyu Mo Cheng's body was very stiff. Lin Wanna probably also noticed Jiyu Mo Cheng's stiff body. She deliberately pulled apart her wedding dress to reveal the snow-white skin on her chest, gently leaning into Jiyu Mo Cheng's embrace. "Mo Cheng, I know you feel guilty about Yang Qing, but Wanna truly likes you. Don't worry, Wanna will definitely return you to Yang Qing in the future." Jiyu Mo Cheng couldn't help but swallow hard as he looked at the snow-white skin exposed on her chest. Finally, he gently patted Lin Wanna's back. How could that be? That night, Jiyu Mo Cheng slept very uneasily. In his dreams, he always saw Xu Yanqing watching him from afar, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't catch up with Xu Yanqing's figure. No matter how long he climbed, he could only watch Xu Yanqing's figure grow farther and farther away. Jiyu Mo Cheng suddenly opened his eyes, and he didn't even glance at Lin Wanna beside him. Rushing to Xu Yanqing's courtyard in his underclothes, he had only one thought now. He had to see Xu Yanqing immediately. But when he pushed open the courtyard door, it was immediately empty, with no one in sight. Jiyu Mo Cheng's heart grew increasingly panicked. A vague suspicion had already formed in his mind, but he dared not entertain the thought, fearing it might be true. His trembling hand swallowed hard as he pushed open Xu Yanqing's room. The room was dark, almost devoid of any human presence, giving the impression that it had been uninhabited for a long time. Only now did he truly realize that Xu Yanqing was gone, that she had left. He roared almost to the point of finding the servants in the mansion, his voice trembling. "Where is the madam?" The servant who was called trembled like a sieve. "The madam is in the bridal chamber now." Jiyu Mo Cheng took a deep breath to barely suppress the anger in his heart. "It's the original madam." It was only then that the person stammered, "Madam, madam has returned to Jiangnan. Why didn't you tell me?" The servant knelt on the ground, his face pale. "Madam said not to tell you." Jiyu Mo Cheng abruptly flung his sleeve. Without hesitation, he mounted his horse and rode straight to the city gate. But upon reaching the city gate, he was stopped by the guards. "General, the emperor has decreed that you may not leave Huaiyang without a summons." In that moment, Jiyu Mo Cheng felt as if he were nailed to the spot. It all suddenly made sense to him. Xu Yanqing had long planned to leave him. He returned to the general's residence on horseback, utterly dejected. His whole body felt as if it had been soaked in water, his lips pale. When Lin Wanna rushed over, Jiyu Mo Cheng had never felt so irritated. His voice was cold. "Is there something?" Tears streamed down Lin Wanna's cheeks as she clung to his arm, looking wronged. "Mo Cheng Ji, I was just worried about you. I heard you left early in the morning." Jiyu Mo Cheng thought of Xu Yanqing again. She was a very strong-willed girl. Jiyu Mo Cheng remembered the first time he met her. When a group of children surrounded her, mocking her as a merchant's daughter, saying she was of low standing. When he was about to go up and help her, the young girl stood up on her own, hands on her hips. "So what if I'm a merchant's daughter? I earn my own living, and I think I'm pretty amazing." Jiyu Mo Cheng seemed rooted in place, staring blankly at the standing girl. Around that moment, the image of the little girl had taken up residence in his heart. But now, he had pushed her away with his own hands. Jiyu Mo Cheng had never hated himself so much. His eyes met Lin Wanna's in despair. If it weren't for her, Xu Yanqing wouldn't have left him. Lin Wanna was startled by Jiyu Mo Cheng's gaze and instinctively took 2 steps back, her voice trembling. "Mo Cheng Ji, what's wrong?" Jiyu Mo Cheng's eyes showed no emotion, and his tone was harsh. "Once you give birth to the child, I will send you back to the manor. My wife has always been and will always be Xu Yanqing." At that moment, Lin Wanna fell to the ground, her eyes filled with tears. She watched Jiyu Mo Cheng's retreating figure, knowing that no words of hers could change anything now, so she remained silent. But she had already heard about Jiyu Mo Cheng being trapped in Huaiyang. Anyway, now that Xu Yanqing is gone, she doesn't believe that Jiyu Mo Cheng will still remember Xu Yanqing after 10 years. A trace of malice flashed in her eyes. She raised her eyes towards the direction of Xu Yanqing's courtyard. "Xu Yanqing, the ultimate victor of this battle will definitely be me. A recent piece of news has emerged in Huaiyang. The reason the former madam of the general's mansion divorced General Jiyu Mo Cheng was that she had an affair with a scoundrel and became pregnant with the scoundrel's child, forcing her to divorce the general. Even the military physician of the general's mansion claimed to have prescribed a pregnancy-stabilizing medicine for Xu Yanqing, confirming her pregnancy without a doubt. But when this news reached Jiyu Mo Cheng's ears, all he felt was shock. "Child." He suddenly remembered the desperate voice of Xu Yanqing behind him that night. She said, "Gu Mo Cheng, I'm pregnant with your child. Please, save me." Xu Yanqing, who was so full of pride, begged him for the sake of the child. That child could only be his. It turns out they had truly had a child together. Jiyu Mo Cheng clutched his chest and suddenly spat out a mouthful of bloody phlegm. "Xu Yanqing, I was wrong. Please, come back and see me one more time." Jiyu Mo Cheng struggled to stand up, pulling out the sharp sword from its sheath in one swift motion. He dragged the sword as he walked step by step to Lin Wanna's courtyard, kicking open the gate to her yard with a single forceful kick. Ji Mo Cheng's eyes were bloodshot, resembling a demon from hell, radiating an aura of death. Lin Wanna was startled. Sitting helplessly on the ground, she backed away. Ji Mo Cheng pointed his sword at Lin Wanna, radiating full-bodied killing intent. Lin Wanna had no doubt that Ji Mo Cheng would end her life in the next second. She forced a pale smile. "Mo Cheng Ji, what are you doing?" Ji Mo Cheng's voice was icy, carrying an unsettling chill. "You already knew Yang Qing was pregnant." Lin Wanna's eyes darted away, and in the next moment, Ji Mo Cheng's sword pierced the bed curtain beside her. Ji Mo Cheng crouched down and grabbed Lin Wanna's neck with a firm grip. Lin Wanna could only feel that she was unable to breathe. The next second, Ji Mo Cheng suddenly let go. Lin Wanna knelt on the ground, gasping for breath. Ji Mo Cheng stood up dejectedly, throwing the sword onto the bed curtain beside him. "Don't let me hear any rumors about Yang Qing within a day, or else." Ji Mo Cheng turned around, his dark eyes fixed on Lin Wanna. Lin Wanna was still sitting on the ground, gasping for breath, her eyes filled with fear. She took a step back. I know. Ji Mo Cheng finally left. Ji Mo Cheng had recently developed a strong liking for sleep, even going so far as to have the family physician prescribe several tranquilizing medicines. Only in this way could he fall asleep, and only in his dreams could he see Xu Yanqing, as he was about to sleep as usual. The family physician suddenly came to report that something had happened to Lin Wanna. Ji Mo Cheng frowned unhappily. For him, nothing was more important than dreaming about his Yang Qing. Only when he arrived did he find out that Lin Wanna had somehow gone into premature labor. Blood was being carried out of the room, one basin after another. Ji Mo Cheng sat impatiently at the door, not moving an inch even as Lin Wanna's cries of pain came from inside. It wasn't until the midwife brought out a stillborn baby. "General, this child was born prematurely and has already stopped breathing at birth." But as Ji Mo Cheng looked at the child with its eyes tightly shut, an inexplicable sense of joy crept into his heart. He walked into the delivery room and glanced at Lin Wanna, who was still sleeping on the bed. Her face was pale, but she managed to sit up as soon as she saw Ji Mo Cheng. Ji Mo Cheng merely waved his hand. His gaze shifted to the window, where the original peach blossoms had long been replaced by blooming roses. He instinctively frowned, only then turning his gaze to Lin Wanna. Then he took out the divorce papers and handed them to Lin Wanna. Lin Wanna's entire hand was trembling, and her eyes, lifted to meet his, were already brimming with tears. "Is there really no chance for us anymore?" Ji Mo Cheng shook his head. "Back then, it was your father who entrusted you to me. I will give you a sum of money that will ensure you never have to worry about food or clothing for the rest of your life. I'll also give you that manor. Leave once you've recovered." Lin Wanna smiled, but it was full of bitterness. She forced herself to sit up, interrupting Ji Mo Cheng's words. "No need, I'll move out now." But before leaving, she couldn't help but take one last look at Ji Mo Cheng. "Ji Mo Cheng, did you ever like me, even for a moment?" Ji Mo Cheng shook his head. "From beginning to end, the only one in my heart has been Xu Yanqing." Ji Mo Cheng watched Lin Wanna's retreating figure. For some reason, a strange memory suddenly surfaced in his mind. Ji Mo Cheng had another dream, but this time the dream was quite peculiar. In the dream, he saw his little girl hadn't left him, yet he relentlessly pushed her further away, until he forced her into a dead end. Ji Mo Cheng was almost scared awake. The dream was too real and too terrifying. Ji Mo Cheng even doubted whether it was something he had truly done. He began visiting temples and seeking out wandering Taoist priests, but he found nothing. He always felt that Xu Yanqing leaving him had something to do with that dream, until one day, as usual, he went to burn incense. But this time, a monk stopped him. "Do not pursue past events, benefactor." But how could he not pursue it? Under his relentless questioning, the monk finally sighed. In 5 years, you may ask yourself. 5 years passed in a flash, and the peach blossoms Gu Morching planted in the small courtyard bloomed again. But the person he was waiting for never returned. It had already been 7 years since Xu Yanqing's departure. On this day, as usual, he was watering the flowers when he suddenly received an urgent dispatch. The northern barbarians were launching a large-scale invasion, and the emperor had specifically ordered him to lead the troops. The moment Gu Morching mounted his horse again, it was as if he had finally come back to life. Throughout the journey, Gu Morching's attacks were extremely swift and fierce, but this time, the barbarians were clearly well prepared. Gu Morching was almost constantly retreating, but Gu Morching knew he couldn't retreat. Behind him, the land he guarded was home to thousands of people, including his little girl. Moreover, he had to return to see his little girl. With this thought in mind, Gu Morching fought almost recklessly, finally forcing the barbarians back across the border. He was also severely injured. Gu Morching roughly knew that he might not survive this ordeal, but disregarding all dissuasions, he insisted that his soldiers take him to Jiangnan, and he finally saw the person he had longed for after traversing countless streets and alleys. At that time, Xu Yanqing's Suzhou embroidery shop had already become renowned worldwide. It is said that even the royal family has purchased Suzhou embroidery from Miss Xu and praised it without reservation. I leaned back in my recliner, feeling the warmth of the sunlight on my body. A little girl with braided hair whispered softly into my ear, "Mom, the Osmanthus cake shop in the south of the city has opened." I quickly turned over and playfully patted the little girl's hair bun. "Come, Mom will take you to buy something delicious." The little girl happily followed behind me, but inexplicably, I always felt as if someone was watching me from behind, making me quite uncomfortable. I turned around and saw a man with a face full of stubble standing no more than 10 steps away from me. Curiously, I turned to ask him, "Is there something I can help you with?" The man's shoulders slumped, and tears suddenly fell from his eyes as he grabbed my sleeve. "Yang Qing, it's me. I'm Gu Morching." I stood there in shock for a moment. The name was so distant, and even the face had long been forgotten in the depths of my memory. The little girl tugged at my hem. "Mother, who is he?" I scooped the little girl into my arms. Speaking of which, he should still be considered Xiao Yang's nominal father. When I was in the pond for so long, although I was eventually saved by Xiao Kui, I was always worried about Xiao Yang. After all, having experienced the pain of loss in my previous life, I was especially vigilant, but I didn't expect her to be completely unaffected. Smiling at me as soon as she was born, it was as if we had met in a previous life. Gu Morching saw Xiao Yang as if she had been frozen in place. Her lips trembled, then turned to look at me. "Yang Qing, she is our child, isn't she? Our child is still alive." Ever since I heard about the northern barbarians' invasion, I had guessed that I might see Gu Morching again, but I didn't expect it to happen so soon. Seeing that I did not object, he cautiously crouched down, trying his best to sound gentle. "Child, I am your father." Xiao Yang cautiously took 2 steps back, but still couldn't help peeking at Gu Morching from behind me. "She is a clever child, perhaps having long noticed her differences from other children, but she has never made a fuss in front of me. She said that her mother doesn't want her father anymore, which must mean that her father did something very wrong that made her mother sad." When he said this, the little doll turned around, hugged me into his arms, and patiently comforted me, gently patting my back with his small hand. But I knew that the little girl was always curious about this father she had never met. I crouched down and stroked her head. "Xiaoyan, this is indeed your father. Go ahead." The little girl finally stepped out from behind me. She looked at Gu Morching with wide-eyed curiosity. Only when she approached did Gu Morching gently pull the little girl into his embrace. Good child, Jiyu Mo Cheng had seen this child in his dreams, though in the dream, all he saw was a pool of blood. It was he who had personally fed the abortion medicine, killing his child. Fortunately, this time, she was still alive. The little girl unhappily wriggled out of his embrace. Hands on her hips, glaring at him. "It's you who bullied Mother. Little Swallow doesn't like you." After saying that, she darted over to me, grabbing my hand. "Mother, don't worry, Little Swallow will protect you." I warmly embraced Little Swallow. Over the years, I have never regretted keeping her. Only then did Jiyu Mo Cheng cautiously direct his gaze toward my face, with a hoarse voice. "Yang Qing, I've been thinking about you all these years. I've divorced Lin Wanna. Come back with me, Yang Qing. I'll treat you well." Back then, I was momentarily bewitched by evil spirits. "My heart has truly always belonged to you, Yang Qing. Give me another chance. After all, we already have a child." I let out a cold laugh and handed Xiao Yang to the servant. "Jiyu Mo Cheng, do you find yourself amusing when you say such things? You can't still be naive enough to think there's any possibility between us. From the moment I left the general's estate, I never intended to return. If you truly care for me, then never appear before me again." The coldness in Xu Yanqing's expression pierced Jiyu Mo Cheng like a sharp pain. He clutched at his hands, full of helplessness. "Yang Qing, after you left, I had a dream. I dreamt that you didn't leave, but I did something really despicable. So I truly know I was wrong and want to take you back." I curled my lips into a mocking smile and stepped closer to him, one step at a time. "A dream? You call it a dream, Jiyu Mo Cheng? The dream you see is everything I experienced in my previous life. The abortion medicine was fed to me by your own hands, and it was you who sent me to another's bed, destroying my innocence. While I was drowned in the river, you were marrying Lin Wanna." I closed my eyes, and the painful scenes passed before me like a revolving lantern. When I opened my eyes again, they were bloodshot. Even the battle-hardened Jiyu Mo Cheng was frightened enough to take 2 steps back. My voice was hoarse with anguish. "So, Jiyu Mo Cheng, I will never forgive you, never." After saying this, I left without looking back. Jiyu Mo Cheng sat on the ground with his mouth open, helplessly watching the departing figure. Jiyu Mo Cheng rented a small house across from my Suzhou embroidery shop. He had recently begun to fear sleep. He was afraid of dreaming that dream again, dreaming of what he had done to Xu Yanqing in the dream. Jiyu Mo Cheng was afraid. So he dared not close his eyes all night long. Only when he saw Xu Yanqing's shop open could he feel half at ease. Business has been getting better lately. These days, Xiao Yang always disappears for half an hour in the afternoon. I know she's going to see Jiyu Mo Cheng, but I didn't stop her. But this time, Xiaoyan returned in a huff. She was crying and throwing a tantrum, insisting on throwing out all the things Jiyu Mo Cheng had given her. By the time I arrived, most of those items had already been thrown out. The young girl's eyes were still glistening with tears. I picked her up and patiently asked what had happened, but Xiaoyan turned and threw herself into my arms, crying and apologizing to me. It took her a long time before she finally raised her tear-streaked face. "Mother, I told Sister Xiaotsue everything. He's a bad father for treating you like that. I hate him. Xiaoyan never wants to see the bad daddy again." I didn't actually expect Xiaotsue to tell her that. After patiently coaxing for a long time, the little girl finally fell asleep in my arms. I had originally planned to go ask Xiaotsue about it, but I didn't expect to see Jiyu Mo Cheng. After a few days, his complexion was terrifyingly poor, his entire face covered in a lifeless grayish hue, and his hair was a messy mop on his head. His eyes lit up for a moment when he saw me. I frowned and said, "Did you have Xiao Kui tell Xiao Yang? Why?" He forced a strained smile. "I still couldn't hide it from you." I crossed my arms, slightly displeased. "If you have nothing else, I'm leaving." There really wasn't much I wanted to say to him. He coughed weakly, his entire face trembling, and his body hunched over severely. "Yang Qing, I just want to talk to you." After a moment of silence, his voice carried an unprecedented heaviness and frailty. I might be dying, when he said this. His eyes were fixed intently on my face, as if trying to catch a flicker of sorrow, but unfortunately, he was disappointed. My face showed no emotion, only that cold, unfeeling expression. He sighed. We can never go back to how things were before. He stood up, moving forward step by step with a swaying body. Finally, upon reaching the door, he stopped and turned to look at me. Yang Qing, I'm sorry. I merely nodded coldly. He could say sorry, but that's not a reason for me to forgive. My life must go on, moving forward on a path filled with sunshine. 10 days later, Jiyu Mo Cheng finally died in Huaiyang due to old and new injuries. In his last moments before closing his eyes, he seemed to see the 17-year-old Xu Yanqing smiling as she walked towards him. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. In my previous life, I jumped into the icy lake to save a drowning girl, never expecting her to be the daughter of my husband's concubine. It was a scheme orchestrated by the concubine. Later, I fell ill due to the cold, and the doctor said I could no longer bear children. As I lay on my deathbed, my husband brought the concubine into our home, and they lived in luxury using my dowry. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day the girl fell into the water. Madam, the weather is getting colder, and the lake is already frozen over, my maid observed. The maid Donga lifted the carriage curtain and muttered, holding the hot water bottle in my hand. I spoke calmly, it's not too cold yet. The ice on the lake isn't strong enough now. By the end of the year, the carriage will be able to travel on the ice. Through the gap in the curtain that Donga had lifted, I looked towards the frozen lake and, sure enough, there was that little girl again, glancing with my eyes. I noticed someone hiding in the woods in the distance. Seeing that sneaky figure, I let out a cold laugh. Jiang Mai, it's her. In my previous life, it was the same. On my way back from visiting my family, as I passed by the ice lake, I heard a girl's cries for help. The girl was playing on the ice and accidentally fell into the lake. Coincidentally, the girl's appearance was almost identical to that of my deceased daughter. I once had a daughter named Baozhu, but my Baozhu, when she was 3 years old, ran out to play and accidentally fell into a pond, drowning. I grew up at my grandparents' home in the Jiangnan water town, so I was well versed in swimming from a young age. However, I never got the chance to teach my daughter how to swim before she left me. This is my inner demon and the nightmare of my life. So when I saw a girl who resembled my daughter fall into the water, I didn't hesitate to jump into the icy lake to save this stranger. As if I was saving my precious pearl. Although the ice wasn't very sturdy, it was still the depths of winter, and the water in the icy lake was unbearably cold. Since my daughter left, my health has already been poor. After saving someone, I fell into a severe illness and was unconscious for 7 days and nights. The doctor said that I had been invaded by cold energy, damaging my foundation, and I could no longer bear children. Moreover, I can no longer overwork and must rest in bed. With medicine never ceasing, on the 2nd day after I woke up, my husband Luzha brought the little girl I had saved. Her name is Mingzhu. Luzha said that Mingzhu was destined to be with our family, and since she was an orphan, he asked me to adopt her and register her under my name. I gazed at Mingzhu's appearance, tears streaming down my cheeks. This is my precious pearl. Not only did her appearance barely differ, but even her name was so similar. Without hesitation, I agreed to my husband's proposal. Back then, I naively believed that this was the grace of heaven, an opportunity for me to atone, allowing me to successfully save the girl. So, I treated Mingzhu as my own daughter. Even with my sickly body, I arranged everything for her: clothing, food, shelter, and travel. No detail was overlooked, and I spared no expense, ensuring everything was the best. Who would have thought that Mingzhu was the daughter of my husband's concubine? No wonder she looked so much like my Baozhu. Baozhu resembled her father greatly, and so did the daughter of the concubine. Despite drinking bowl after bowl of bitter medicine, my health only worsened. One day, when I was bedridden and could hardly get up, Jiang Mai led Mingzhu into the house. Carrying a swaddled infant in her arms, it was a boy. Jiang Mai declared her identity. She was the concubine my husband kept outside, and according to her, she had been kept by my husband since the year my daughter Baozhu died. Jiang Mai's smile was bold and mocking. She called me a fool. It turned out that everything was a scheme she had set up. She knew about my daughter's drowning and used my heartache to lure me into jumping into the icy lake to save someone. Jiang Mai knew her daughter resembled mine, so she believed that as soon as I saw Mingzhu's face, I would definitely try to save her. Sister, thank you for taking care of Mingzhu these past 6 months. As her birth mother, I am deeply grateful. Do you really think my husband doesn't know? He told me which road you would take when you returned home for your family visit. Sister, you are so consumed by the grief of losing your daughter. But do you still remember your responsibilities as a wife? My husband has long grown tired of your current state. Now that my son has been born, he must be added to the Lu family genealogy. I can't wait any longer. My son is the legitimate heir, and I will soon become my husband's equal wife. Upon learning the truth, I was shocked and suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Baozhu, Mingzhu, so that's how it is. I laughed in anger. My daughter was named Lu Baozhu, while the daughter of the concubine was named Lu Mingzhu. Calculating back, when Baozhu died, Jiang Mai was already pregnant with Lu Mingzhu. Lu Zhe, how dare you? The hatred in my eyes was palpable. How ruthless you are. The water of that icy lake was bone-chilling. She was your own daughter. Hearing this, Jiang Mai laughed wildly, her voice sharp and shrill. You have to be willing to sacrifice the child to catch the wolf. Sister, just rest here and recover. Next month, my husband will be marrying me into the family. You must hold on until then, so you can drink a cup of my wedding wine. Overwhelmed with grief and boundless hatred, I died of anger on the day Lu Zhe married Jiang Mai as his equal wife. After my death, my soul did not enter the cycle of reincarnation but was trapped in the Lu residence. Since Mingzhu was still under my name, my dowry was brazenly seized by Jiang Mai. I watched helplessly as this family of 4, spending my dowry, lived a harmonious and beautiful life. I made a deal with the judge of the underworld, offering 1,000 years of servitude in exchange for a chance to start over. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the carriage returning home from a visit to my parents. Help! Help! When my carriage happened to pass by the edge of the ice lake, the girl's cry for help rang out at just the right moment. Her voice young and deliberately staged. Madam, it seems someone has fallen into the water. A little girl, Donga exclaimed in alarm. I pulled my satin-lined jacket closer around me and didn't even lift an eyelid. Do not stop, continue on our way. Although Lu Mingzhu looked extremely similar to my daughter, she was a heartless child, not worth saving. In my previous life, I was at least a savior who risked my life to save her, and I treated her well after she entered the household. Yet, her biological mother used her life as bait to lure me into a trap, clearly not caring about this daughter. But Lu Mingzhu was coldly heartless, making people feel chilled. When I was critically ill, she used that face to help her mother provoke and torment me. Even if she died, it was because of her biological mother. What does it have to do with me? She couldn't even compare to a single strand of hair on my precious pearl. Donga was momentarily stunned but said nothing more. If the madam was doing this, there must be a reason behind it. Yes, keep moving, hurry, don't delay the timing. Donga instructed the coachman. The coachman cracked his whip, and the carriage moved a bit faster, hidden in the bushes. Jiang Mai grew anxious as the carriage didn't stop. What was wrong with Fang Qingkue? That slut. Why didn't she come to the rescue when she heard the cries for help? This vile woman. What on earth is she doing? Hurry up and save her. Jiang Mai couldn't help but curse. Help! Help! Mother! Save me! Mother! I'm so cold. Save me, mother! The girl flailed in the water. Her cries for help growing weaker, she had swallowed water and seemed unable to hold on any longer. Jiang Mai looked at Lu Mingzhu struggling in the water, and a trace of reluctance flashed in her eyes. Although she was a girl, she was still her child after all. Jiang Mai touched her bulging belly. Unable to bear looking at Lu Mingzhu in the water, she murmured, "Mingzhu, just hold on a little longer. That wretched woman will soon come down to save you. After today, you'll be the legitimate daughter, and your brother will be the legitimate son. It's all worth it. Just endure a little more." She was pregnant again now, and the doctor said it was a boy. For her son, she had no choice but to do this. Fang Qingkui's daughter had drowned, and Mingzhu looked almost identical to her daughter. As long as Fang Qingkui heard the cries for help and saw Mingzhu's face, she wouldn't be able to resist saving her. Jiang Mai stared intently at the carriage. Her fists clenched tightly, feeling sweaty palms and a heart pounding violently. She was waiting for Fang Qingkui to stop the carriage, and then jump into the icy lake to save someone. At this moment, I leaned against the soft couch of the carriage, inhaling the warm incense, closing my eyes to rest. As the cries for help outside grew fainter and eventually disappeared, only then did I open my eyes. Using one hand to lift a corner of the curtain, the ice on the surface had cracked open, revealing a large hole, with a small figure floating inside, surrounded by shattered ice. Lu Mingzhu was motionless, apparently lifeless. My gaze gradually turned cold. Jiang Mai could actually watch her own daughter drown in the icy lake without batting an eye, completely unmoved. Even a tiger doesn't eat its own cubs. Yet her heart was so ruthless. She wasn't even human, she was just an animal. Jiang Mai was ruthless, and Lu Zhe, who silently allowed this to happen, was equally ruthless. When Lu Zhe married me, he was just a destitute scholar from a fallen family. My father despised his poverty and refused to let me marry him. Lu Zhe knelt at our doorstep for a day and a night before he finally secured this marriage. It was with the help of my family over the years that the Lu family was able to recover from their decline. When Lu Zhe married me, he swore never to take a concubine. I casually replied at the time, "If you ever have another woman, we'll divorce. I'll take all my dowry back to my family without a single cent missing, and don't you dare try to take advantage of me." The marriage customs in the Jingzhou kingdom are unique. After a divorce, the husband must return all the dowry to the wife. If the wife passes away and she has no children, her family can reclaim the dowry. If there are children, the dowry is inherited by the wife's children, which essentially goes to the husband. He was silent for a moment, then spoke endless sweet words, swearing that he absolutely would not. It turns out he had it all in mind. I had warned him beforehand, so he wouldn't divorce me, because he couldn't bear to part with the substantial dowry I brought. He wanted the money and also wanted Jiang Mai and the legitimate son. Therefore, I became their stumbling block. Thus, they wished for my death. To remove me as quickly as possible, register Lu Mingzhu under my name. Upon my death, she will inherit all my dowry. My family cannot reclaim the dowry because I have a daughter under my name. What a cunning plan, a well-calculated scheme. Yet, Lu Zhe, you knew I was deeply troubled by my daughter's death, and you still chose to exploit her death to manipulate me. The year Baozhu died, I was devastated, crying every day until my eyes nearly went blind. Meanwhile, you were elsewhere indulging with your mistress. Baozhu is also your child. Lu Zhe, you are good, but Jiang Mai is not worthy of being a human. And you are even less worthy. You too, this pair of dogmen and woman, should all go down to keep my Baozhu company in the afterlife. I lowered the curtain and slowly took a sip of tea, saying, "It's easy to get sleepy in a carriage. I slept all the way and I'm still sleepy. Wake me up when we enter the city. I'll sleep a little more. Dorna nodded. Yes, madam. She was puzzled. Madam had been very alert the entire journey, not sleeping at all, so why say such a thing? And that girl who fell into the water earlier, it wasn't like madam to ignore someone in danger. Although Dorna couldn't figure it out, she followed whatever madam said. Seeing the carriage gradually disappear into the distance, Jiang Mai was struck as if by lightning, frozen in place. How could this be? Why didn't Fang Qingkue save the person? A 1,000-pound boulder was placed on her chest, pressing down on her so hard that she could barely breathe. Jiang Mai stiffly turned her neck. Afraid to look but forced to look, when she saw the small figure in the ice hole, she could no longer hold back. Her whole body trembling violently, she let out a scream, a sound so piercing and heart-wrenching. Mingzhu. Jiang Mai stumbled and ran over, and as she ran, she felt a sharp pain in her lower abdomen. In the silent thicket, Jiang Mai's cries were particularly conspicuous, spreading far. I sat in the carriage, faintly hearing Jiang Mai's voice from behind, feeling both pitiful and ridiculous. When she designed to use her own biological daughter as bait, did she never consider what would happen if Lu Mingzhu wasn't rescued? Even if rescued, what if she suffered from after effects? When she saw the carriage didn't stop, as a mother, she should have promptly abandoned her schemes against me and rushed to pull Lu Mingzhu to safety. Perhaps Lu Mingzhu could still be alive, but she didn't. She watched her own daughter drown in the icy lake. And now she's crying and shouting about what? She's truly ruthless. If I can be killed today, my dowry can also be seized, making it a lucrative deal, using one daughter to secure her lifetime of wealth and her son's position as the heir is worth the risk. Unfortunately, Jiang Mai miscalculated. Who is wailing? The sound is full of despair. Did the madam hear it? Dorna said. Didn't hear anything. You must be hallucinating, I said. Dorna lifted the curtain to look behind, but it was too far away to see anything. I slightly narrowed my eyes, taking a moment to rest my mind. As there was a good show to watch today, returning to the Lu residence, I looked at the Lu family's gate, feeling as if it were a world apart, seeing me step down from the carriage clean and tidy. Not a single drop of water on me. Luja widened his eyes in astonishment, exclaiming, Madam, how did you return? I looked bewildered. Husband, I am just returning home today. You knew this long ago. Why are you so surprised? Luja forced a couple of dry laughs, trying to cover up his reaction. I forgot. Yes, Madam is returning today. Look at my memory. I smiled without speaking. But Luja couldn't help but ask, Madam, did you encounter any accidents or meet anyone on your way back? I lightly yawned. I slept the whole way and only woke up when I entered the city. Luja blurted out, You've been sleeping the whole way. Yes, what's wrong, husband? Why are you upset upon hearing that I was sleeping? I asked. Luja's face was grim, but he forced a smile to placate me. The carriage is bumpy. I was worried you wouldn't rest well on the ride. A hint of sarcasm flashed in my eyes. Luckily, I slept soundly. Luja was dissatisfied with my answer. He turned to Dorna. Dorna, was the journey smooth? Did you encounter anything? Dorna glanced at me, then at Luja, answering flawlessly. The journey was safe, and nothing happened. Dorna was brought from my family home, and she was extremely loyal to me. In my previous life, after I fell seriously ill, she suddenly disappeared. Luja's explanation was that she had stolen property from the household and was driven out. In fact, during the 7 days and 7 nights I was unconscious, he systematically eliminated all my trusted aides, with Dorna being the first. Luja wanted to prevent me from seeking help from my family, slowly exhausting me to death in the Lu household. Unfortunately, at that time, I couldn't protect myself or investigate, and I didn't know what happened to Dorna in my previous life. Luja's expression was quite peculiar. As long as you're fine, that's all that matters. I smiled gently. it's time for the evening meal now. Let me accompany my husband to dine. It's been a few days since I last saw you. Please don't refuse me. Jiang Mai's scheme failed, and she was also emotionally disturbed. I wonder how she's doing now. My goal is to delay Lu Zhi's departure and keep him here. All right. During dinner, Lu Zhi was completely absent-minded, his thoughts already drifting to Jiang Mai. Fang Qingkue had been sleeping the entire journey. Where was Jiang Mai now? Lu Zhi felt it was a real pity. No matter how much he planned, he never expected Fang Qingkue to fall asleep in the carriage. If Fang Qingkue hadn't been asleep, she would have definitely fallen into their trap, as her longing for her daughter had reached a feverish pitch. This was also one of the reasons Lu Zhi despised her. Ever since their daughter passed away, Fang Qingkue had been in a constant state of lethargy, only crying and wallowing in her grief, neglecting him, her husband, and her appearance no longer as radiant as it once was. Moreover, she was taking some kind of pill, spending most of her day sleeping. Just seeing her gloomy demeanor was enough to make Lu Zhi extremely irritable. He was also in a bad mood after losing his daughter, but life had to go on. During that time, it was thanks to Jiang Mai's company that he was able to get through it. Jiang Mai was different from Fang Qingkue. Fang Qingkue was rigid, dull, and overly obedient, which made her boring. But Jiang Mai always greeted him with a smile, trying her best to please him and cater to his preferences. Who would give up a beautiful woman to like a woman who only knew how to frown and complain? Fang Qingkue was not a suitable wife. As the sky darkened, the house was already lit with lamps, the flickering candlelight like a tiny bean. I watched Lu Zhi's absent-minded appearance and asked with concern, "Husband, is something troubling you?" "No, it's just that I didn't sleep well last night." Lu Zhi casually brushed it off. At the door, Lu Zhi's personal servant rushed in, and upon seeing me, he hesitated, unsure whether to speak. "Why is Qing Shu in such a hurry? What happened?" I asked knowingly. Qing Shu is Lu Zhi's confidant. It was he who arranged and helped cover up Lu Zhi's affair with his mistress outside. His panic must mean something has gone wrong with Jiang Mai. "It's just a small matter. No need to trouble madam," Qing Shu said, seeing Qing Shu's expression. Lu Zhi realized something and stood up, saying, "It's official business. Come to the study with me. Don't disturb the madam while she's eating." Qing Shu nodded. Yes. Lu Zhi and Qing Shu left in a hurry. Watching the direction they went, my gaze gradually turned cold. I put down my chopsticks and said expressionlessly, "Donga, I'm not feeling well. Go and fetch Bai Feng." Donga was taken aback. Bai Feng? Bai Feng was a close friend I made before I was married. He roamed the world of martial arts and outlaws, and his methods of healing were unconventional. Yet he always cured the illness. Everyone knew him as a renowned divine physician who could revive the dead and regenerate flesh. But few knew that Bai Feng was actually skilled in poison. He was a poison master, with a level of expertise in using poison that was unparalleled. "Yes, there's one more thing you need to do for me," I whispered to Donga. Donga was shocked. "Madam, is this true?" I nodded calmly. "Go ahead and handle it. Money moves the heart. I need to keep track of their every move." Donga felt heartbroken for me, her teeth almost grinding to pieces. "Madam, please rest assured, this matter, your servant will handle it properly, even if it costs me my life. I will definitely not let the master succeed." When Lu Zhi rushed to the villa in a hurry, all he could hear was Jiang Mai's pained cries. Lu Zhi tightly gripped the doctor's hand. "Dr. Li, how is she?" Dr. Li sighed. "The madam has been greatly distressed. If it had been discovered in time, it would have been fine. But the discovery was too late, delaying the treatment. The child in her womb has already miscarried." Lu Zhi's mind exploded in a daze. "What did you say? The child is gone? How could this happen?" Dr. Li's expression was complicated. "Your wife's pregnancy was already unstable. If she had stayed home to rest quietly and kept her spirits high, there wouldn't have been any major issues." "Master Lu, How are you even acting as a husband? How could you let her tire herself out and worry her heart? Lu Zhi opened his mouth, feeling utterly speechless. Anyway, the child is already gone. Focus on taking care of your wife's health. I'll prescribe a cleansing medicine for her. The miscarriage needs to be clean, otherwise, it could lead to bigger problems. With that, Dr. Li went to write the prescription. Hearing Jiang Mai's screams from inside the room, Lu Zhi's face alternated between pale and livid, suddenly turning ferocious. What did Fang Qingkue do? If it weren't for her insisting on having dinner with him, wasting time, he wouldn't have been so late. Maya, what exactly happened? And where's Mingzhu? Why didn't Mingzhu come back with you? Seeing Jiang Mai, Lu Zhi asked all the questions on his mind. Jiang Mai felt as if her internal organs were being shredded, the pain excruciating. She clenched her teeth and spat out. It was that vile woman, Fang Qingkue. She didn't save Mingzhu. Mingzhu drowned alive in the icy lake. Husband, you must avenge Mingzhu. You must avenge our unborn son. Jiang Mai hated Fang Qingkue with a burning passion. Wishing she could devour her flesh and blood to quench the hatred in her heart. Upon hearing this, Lu Zhi exclaimed in disbelief. What, even Pearl is gone? Jiang Mai was sobbing uncontrollably. Pearl is gone. My son is gone. Everything is gone. My son, he was only 3 months old. He hadn't even seen the world yet. Lu Zhi was furious, his chest heaving violently. Bitch, bitch. Fang Qingkue was sleeping the whole way. That bitch. Lu Zhi's eyes sparkled with angry flames. This plan was flawless and had a high chance of success. He never expected it to fail. Fang Qingkue herself had said that she dreams of swimming every night, of diving into the water to save her drowning daughter. In her dreams, she always manages to save her daughter, so she didn't want to wake up, only to live in her dreams. It was this very point that Lu Zhi exploited. Didn't she want to jump into the water to save someone? Then he would fulfill her wish. That's why he advised her to return home to visit her family and relax, arranging this scene along the way to fulfill Fang Qingkue's obsession with saving his daughter. But Lu Zhi never expected that Fang Qingkue would refuse to save her. She didn't jump into the icy lake. She didn't save Mingzhu. Damn bitch. Both of his children were indirectly killed by Fang Qingkue. Especially his son, who was the boy he had been eagerly awaiting, the hope of the Lu family, and was thus destroyed by that vile woman. Lu Zhi was heartbroken, feeling he had let down his ancestors. He would settle this score with Fang Qingkue. Lu Zhi didn't return home that night, while I slept soundly without any dreams. Madam, news has come from there. The concubine was so shocked and heartbroken that she lost the child. This is the prescription written by Dr. Li, who has been treating her. The concubine's health has always been maintained by Dr. Li, Dong said. I glanced at the prescription. I never expected that Jiang Mai would be so useless that she couldn't even keep her son. I wonder if she's heartbroken over her daughter's death or over the fact that she didn't manage to scheme her way to wealth and honor, scheming and plotting, yet in the end, she lost everything. What a beautifully played drama. Lu Zhi must be furious to the point of spitting blood. Right, I smiled faintly. Dr. Li, does he live in the west part of the city? He has a gambling son. Yes, madam, how did you know that? Dong was a bit surprised. I gently tugged at the corner of my mouth. I heard about it by chance. In the west part of the city, there is a Dr. Li who is very short of money because he has a disappointing son named Li Wei, who is immersed in the gambling halls all day. Li Wei is quite famous in the gambling circles, and no one there doesn't know him. The meager consultation fees Dr. Li earned from treating patients were nowhere near enough to support his son's extravagant spending. Yet, having his son at an advanced age, and with no other children, Dr. Li had no choice but to endure it. The Lu family is a prominent household, and my own Fang family is a wealthy merchant clan known throughout the city. Therefore, Lu Zhi dared not hire just any doctor to care for Jiang Mai. Fearing that news might leak and I would find out, he approached Dr. Lee because he knew the doctor was in need of money, offering a high price to ensure his silence and keep the secret hidden. Everyone has flaws. Lucia has money, but the Fang family has even more. Moreover, even Lucia doesn't know that the casinos in the city are owned by my uncle. I toyed with the red porcelain bottle in my hand. Baifeng's medicine is really good. Since they are a couple deeply in love, they should share both joy and sorrow. Lucia will take it, and Jiang Mai will too. Donga couldn't help but remind, Madam, this is poison. When Baifeng was speaking with the madam, she was absent, so she didn't know what kind of poison it was. However, anything that came from Baifeng's hands was certainly not something good. It must be poison. Previously, the madam had been engrossed in dreams and asked Baifeng for dream pill. That dream pill had a slight toxic effect. Because of this, Donga was quite wary of anything Baifeng gave, but the madam insisted on taking it. I gently pulled out the stopper, and Donga was greatly alarmed. Madam, don't worry, I won't eat it, I said, and then I put the stopper back in place. This poison is colorless and odorless. When added to food or drink, it takes only a few months to deplete a person's vitality, leaving them bedridden and eventually dying from weakness. Even the best doctors cannot diagnose it. Outwardly, it appears to be a natural death from illness. Husband. This is the method I have chosen for you and Jiang Mai. Do you like it? In my previous life, I was also consumed to death by you. Now, it's your turn. Donga breathed a sigh of relief. Madam, you scared me to death. Master Baifeng said that the dream pill you were taking before should no longer be consumed. Dreams are illusions, and that medicine harms the body. Madam, you should face reality. Since the master is so ruthless, you should seek another path. If the family finds out, the old madam and the old master will be heartbroken. Don't let father and mother know about this for now, I instructed. Donga frowned. Madam, such a major matter should be brought to the attention of the old master and mistress to seek their counsel. If not now, then when? I gazed at the withered branches outside the window and said slowly, when announcing the death, Donga's face lit up with joy. So the poison was meant for the master. That's excellent. He dared to scheme against Madam. He should taste the consequences. The Fang family is not one to be trifled with. Back then, the old Madam said that master was too extreme, always resorting to kneeling to force us to comply, and it wasn't worth marrying him. I thought the old Madam was right at the time, but you insisted on marrying him. Now, Madam, you must stay clear and not be deceived by master's sweet words again. And you must not be soft-hearted. He is trying to take your life, Donga said worriedly. Of course not. I knew what Donga was worried about. She was afraid that I still loved Lucia and couldn't bring myself to be ruthless. Donga has always had my best interests at heart, but at this moment, I am no longer the Fang Qingkue who could be easily deceived. Lucia used Baoju's death to scheme against me. He is unforgivable and deserves no mercy. I died once, clawing my way out of hell. All to claim their lives, the lives of this adulterous pair. Madam, the master has returned, a servant announced from outside. I placed the red porcelain vase into the dressing case. I understand. Lucia stormed in, immediately accusing me. Fang Qingkue, didn't you say nothing happened on your way back yesterday? I asked the coachman. Someone fell into the ice lake. Why didn't you save them? I exchanged a glance with Donga. What's wrong with you, husband? What do you mean by falling into the water? Who do you want me to save? Lucia was panting heavily, his eyes flickering. As soon as he returned to the Lu family, his anger flared up, and he couldn't help but come to confront her. But how could he even demand an explanation from her? He couldn't bring himself to say it, so he had to swallow his anger, which only made Lucia feel even more frustrated. In a single day, he lost 2 children. Lucia wanted to strangle this fool. Why on earth did she have to sleep at a time like this? Lucia glared at Donga and said viciously, Donga, Why did you make the carriage go faster when passing by the ice lake? What are you plotting? My Lu family cannot tolerate someone as malicious as you. Come. Give her 100 lashes and find a broker to sell her to a brothel. I pulled Donga behind me and said coldly, who dares? Donga is my personal maid, and her contract is with the Fang family. On what grounds does my husband want to sell her? The servants looked at each other, none of them making a move. I am the head of the household, and these servants were all bought by me. I distribute their monthly allowances. How dare they disobey me? Luja, what's wrong with you? What has Donga done to offend you? What exactly happened at the ice lake? Explain yourself, I demanded. Donga was extremely wronged. Master, I truly don't know what I did wrong. Luja was so angry his hair seemed about to stand on end. Someone fell into the ice lake, and you deliberately told the coachman to hurry away. How dare you say you did nothing wrong, you vile? Before Luja could finish, Donga retorted loudly, how did Master know someone fell into the ice lake? Does Master know them? Luja seemed choked, then angrily retorted, who do you think you are, you lowly servant, to question me? My Lu family is known for its benevolence and good reputation. If it gets out that our servants stood by and did nothing, the Lu family's reputation will be ruined by you. Donga's attitude was neither servile nor overbearing. Madam was sleeping at the time, and I was dozing off as well. In my drowsy state, I thought I heard some noise. I woke up and thought it might have been an auditory hallucination. It was getting late, so I urged the coachman to hurry, wanting to return home before nightfall. Master asked if there were any accidents on the road. The Lu family's caravan traveled smoothly without any incidents. I did not lie, but I didn't know that Master's concern wasn't for Madam's safety but for a stranger's. Donga spoke eloquently, leaving Luja speechless and turning red with frustration. I looked at Luja with a half-smile. I didn't even know someone had fallen into the ice lake. How did you, my husband, know about it while at home? Who was the person who fell in? You came here to vent your anger. So that person must be very important to you. Right, Luja's heart skipped a beat. He finally realized how badly he had overreacted and suppressed his temper as he explained. I heard it from someone else. They said a girl fell into the ice lake and it seemed so pitiful. I thought of Baoju's situation, which is why I overreacted. Please don't read too much into it. Madam, I responded with an "oh," then calmly said, so there was a little girl who fell into the water. Where were her parents? How could they let a child play by the lake? The ice is too thin now, it's easy to fall through. If only her parents had been there to pull her out in time. To die alone, with no one around, how desperate must she have felt? Luja frowned deeply. When Mingzhu was about to drown, even if Fang Qingkue hadn't heard her cries for help, why didn't Jiang Mai go to save her? Was she just going to watch Mingzhu die? He was also feeling uncertain in his heart. Luja's eyes were dark. Yes, if Madam hadn't been asleep, perhaps that girl could have been saved. Madam is the best swimmer. If Fang Qingkue hadn't been asleep, the child in Jiang Mai's womb wouldn't have been in danger. That's not necessarily true. The water in the ice lake is bitterly cold, and my husband knows that since Baoju left, my health has been weak. If I jumped in, would I even survive? I have no relation to that girl, so why should I risk my life to save her? Luja widened his eyes. That's a human life. Don't you remember how Baoju died? I looked at him. Husband, my life is also a life. If it were Baoju, I would be willing to trade my life for hers. But she is not Baoju, so what does it have to do with me? Her parents don't even care about her life, so why should I? Seeing Lu Zhe's extremely unpleasant expression, I continued to stab at his heart. On such a cold day, allowing a child to play alone by the lake. Her parents must not care either. How can there be such irresponsible parents in the world, treating their child's life so lightly? Husband, don't you think so? Luja was absolutely frustrated, feeling like he was hitting a soft cotton ball with his anger. As Fang Qingkue showed such coldness, I feel the same way. It's so infuriating, madam. I have official business to attend to. Lucia fled in panic. After Lucia left, I snorted coldly. Serves you right, Dorna exclaimed with delight. I intended to scheme against the madam, but I never expected it would lead to the deaths of her own 2 children. That must be quite a bitter feeling, isn't it? She truly deserves it. Indeed, she deserves it, I said. Dorna seemed uneasy. Madam, judging by the master's demeanor, it seems he might be blaming the deaths of the children from his concubine on you. Will he become even more vengeful towards you in the future? Madam, I fear the master may harm you. I shook my head. He won't do anything to me for now. It's me who will be taking action against him. Hurry and carry out the plan. Even if he makes any moves, we must strike first. I handed the red porcelain vase to Dorna. It's easy to kill me, but it's difficult to leave behind my dowry. Lucia wouldn't bear to part with it, so even if he's furious, he won't touch me for now. Don't forget, there's also Dr. Lee's son, I reminded. Dorna nodded firmly. Don't worry, madam, the money Lucia gave to Dr. Lee was like trying to stop a pot from boiling by skimming the surface. It didn't address the root of the problem. Li Wei was a gambler, and no amount of money would last long with him. So, I found a permanent solution for Dr. Lee. It gave Li Wei a legitimate job to keep him busy. While still satisfying his gambling addiction, I wrote to my uncle and arranged for Li Wei to get a minor managerial position at a casino. The job came with a bit of authority, was respectable, and allowed him to gamble with casino chips as much as he wanted without risking bankruptcy. I had resolved Dr. Lee's biggest worry, and he was naturally extremely grateful. With his son's future and life in my hands, I didn't fear him being insincere, and the Liu estate is now under my management. With my trusted aides still in place, it's as easy as pie to slip something into Lucia's food. The contents of that red porcelain bottle quietly made their way into Lucia's and Jiang Mai's meals. The spies in the detached courtyard reported everything to me. Jiang Mai was tormented daily by the pain of losing her child, weeping every day, haggard and worn, just as I was when I lost Baozhu. See, when it happens to her, she's too busy grieving to pay any attention to the man. Lucia initially often visited the detached courtyard to comfort the woman he cherished deeply, but later, he went less frequently. Jiang Mai's personal maid said that Lucia and Jiang Mai had a big argument. Lucia accused her of only caring about her own sorrow and not considering him. Jiang Mai resented Lucia for not avenging their child, saying it was his idea that led to the death of her unborn son. Lucia also criticized Jiang Mai for not saving Mingzhu at the time, accusing her of being too heartless. Due to the deaths of their 2 children, the two blamed each other, ultimately parting on bad terms. When I learned all of this, I found it utterly ridiculous. Lucia was, from start to finish, a selfish man whose heart belonged only to himself. He demanded that a woman who had just lost her child pretend nothing had happened, put on makeup to cater to his preferences, continue to take care of his daily needs, and greet him with a smile. Just as he had demanded of me before, though back then he wasn't so direct because he was wary of my family, he merely hinted at it. Jiang Mai, today you've tasted the same bitterness. How does it feel? Jiang Mai forced Lucia to take action against me to avenge her child, but Lucia was unwilling to do so. It wasn't out of consideration for our marital bond, but because killing me was easy, yet finding a way to keep the dowry was difficult. I have no children of my own, and even if I were to die, my family could still demand the dowry back intact, not a single silver ingot less, or else they could take the matter to court. The businesses and shops I brought as part of my dowry are highly profitable, almost to the point of earning a fortune daily. Lucia couldn't bear to part with them. Therefore, Lucia wouldn't kill me unless he could think of another way, a way to both kill me and keep the dowry. This is also why Jiang Mai was driven to the brink of collapse and had a huge argument with him. The fool that is Jiang Mai simply couldn't understand that in Lu Zhi's eyes, wealth and status were more important than his children. When Baozhu left, he was only heartbroken for a few days before quickly returning to his social engagements and drinking at banquets. The fact that he could come up with the idea of using Mingzhu as bait to jump into the icy lake shows that he didn't care much about Mingzhu's life. As for the boy in Jiang Mai's womb, he was just an unformed male fetus. Even if he felt sad, how much sadness could he truly have? His sadness was limited. After all, what's more important than money? If the child is gone, you can have another one. But if the money is gone, then everything is gone. Jiang Mai was kept outside by Lu Zhi in the year Baozhu left, so of course, I'll make her taste the same kind of suffering. Madam, what do you mean by this? Lu Zhi, looking at the three beautiful women standing below, was so astonished that he could barely stay seated. These three women were all carefully selected by me. The type Lu Zhi likes, and each of them is superior to Jiang Mai. With sincere apologies, I said, "Husband, since Baozhu left, I've been so consumed by my own grief and despair that I didn't consider your feelings. Recently, I've noticed you've been in low spirits and your temper has been short. My heart is filled with guilt and distress. I've reflected on this. And which man doesn't have multiple wives and concubines? You don't even have a concubine by your side, which would be a laughingstock to others. Now that my health is poor and I don't have much energy to take care of you, I've carefully chosen these sisters. They will stay in your courtyard and take care of you in my place. Husband, do you think this is acceptable? Since Baozhu left, I rarely spent time with Lu Zhi, and now even less so. Every time he wants to come, I find excuses, and over time, he doesn't want to come anymore." Lu Zhi's eyes lit up significantly. "But he still put on a hypocritical act. How could that be? Madam, before marrying you, I swore a deadly oath to love only you for this lifetime." Seeing him put on this pretense of deep affection was truly nauseating. I knew he would be tempted, as the appearances of these three women were exceptional, chosen from 1,000, and no man could resist them. I deliberately put on a look of guilt. "Husband, please take them in. It was my youthful ignorance before, otherwise, I truly couldn't bear the guilt in my heart. Now that Baozhu is gone, after so many years of marriage, I haven't given you any children. The Lu family cannot be without an heir." Lu Zhi opened his mouth. Madam has truly changed. Now being so considerate, I gazed at him affectionately. "I've come to understand. Life must go on. In the future, when they have children, I'll choose a clever one, register them under my name, and love them as my own. What does my husband think?" Upon hearing this, Lu Zhi's face twitched violently, and he smiled as he grasped my hand. "It's good that Madam has come to this understanding. Previously, Madam was always immersed in pain, which pained me as well. Then I shall take them in, for Madam's sake. When they bear children, I'll send them all to Madam's courtyard to be raised, so Madam can enjoy the joy of children at her feet." I smiled gently. "All right." Dorma offered her congratulations with a smile. "Congratulations, Master. Once the three concubines are with child, the household will become even livelier, and Madam's spirits will improve greatly." Lu Zhi hummed in agreement, clearly in a good mood. He had never dreamed that this jealous woman would change her nature, not only taking the initiative to arrange for him to take concubines but also stating that she would register the concubines' children under her name. Once the children were registered under Fang Qingkuei's name, her dowry would be firmly secured for the Lu family. Lu Zhi felt that the recent depression and frustration in his heart had been swept away, and if he had known Fang Qingkuei would change, he wouldn't have rushed to conspire with Jiang Mai to kill her. Lu Zhi sighed inwardly, blaming Jiang Mai for being too impatient, constantly whispering in his ear by his pillow, saying that the legitimate son was already there, and she wanted to enter the household as his wife. If it weren't for Jiang Mai's impatience, he wouldn't have come up with this idea. and he wouldn't have lost 2 children in a series of unfortunate events. Thinking of this, Luja couldn't help but resent Jiang Mai a bit. That woman was only thinking about advancing her position, her vision was so narrow. Alright, consider it bad luck for those 2 children, it's all fate, blame it on their lack of fortune. Luja looked at the 3 women in the hall, unable to hide his satisfaction. Ever since I arranged for Luja to take 3 concubines at once, he hasn't visited Jiang Mai even once. I had anticipated this outcome long ago. For I know Luja all too well, he is utterly heartless. Luja stopped going to Jiang Mai's place, always finding excuses to brush her off, as if he had vanished from the face of the earth. Realizing something was amiss, Jiang Mai could no longer sit still. But I never expected that Jiang Mai would come looking for me. Madam Lu, I am a distant relative of the Lu family and also a distant cousin of Master Lu. I happened to be passing by the Lu residence, so I came to pay a visit. Jiang Mai bowed to me, and although her makeup was heavy, I could still see her exhaustion. She must have had a tough time lately, right? First, she had a miscarriage, then was abandoned by Luja, experiencing great sorrow and pain, combined with the effects of the medicine. No wonder Jiang Mai now looks emaciated. Having lost a significant amount of weight, her clothes are much too big for her, and she seems on the verge of collapse, no longer possessing her former beauty. Hearing the random identity she concocted for herself, I hid my inner mockery. A distant relative, what a load of nonsense. She's just a singing girl from a brothel. She couldn't sit still any longer and came to demand an explanation from Luja. I sipped my tea slowly, not intending to expose her. So you're a distant relative. Since you're my husband's cousin, you're also my cousin. You're too kind, madam. Jiang Mai's gaze at me was respectful. But I didn't miss the disdain and hatred in her eyes. She must have thought I was just a fool being deceived. Does she hate me? Shouldn't she hate Luja instead? Donga, where is my husband now? It's not right for him to avoid guests when our cousin has come. Go and invite him here, I instructed. Donga glanced at Jiang Mai's expression and deliberately said, Madam, the master is currently not very convenient. He is with the concubine Xia and the others, and it seems he cannot be disturbed. With those words, I smiled apologetically. Since the master is busy, it's the same if I entertain my cousin. Jiang Mai's face changed drastically, blurting out, what summer concubine? When did Luja have a concubine? And why didn't I know about it? Realizing her own loss of composure, she quickly explained, I heard from the elders at home that cousin Luja is the most devoted, but I didn't expect him to have concubines as well, so I was a bit surprised. I let out a soft sigh. Men. After all, who doesn't have multiple wives and concubines? 2 months ago, my husband took in 3 more concubines, and has been beaming with joy every day. Seeing him so happy, I couldn't say anything against it, as long as my husband is happy. Hearing this, Jiang Mai's lips tightened, and her right hand gripped the armrest of the chair so hard that her fingertips turned white. 2 months ago, that was around the time when I had a miscarriage, wasn't it? All right, Luja. I lost 2 children in 1 day for your sake, suffering unbearably every day, to the point where life feels worse than death. Yet you can't even be bothered to visit me, and instead, you take in 3 women one after another. So what does the death of our children mean to you? Jiang Mai recalled what Luja had said before. He claimed that Fang Qingkue was jealous and wouldn't allow him to take concubines, so he had to temporarily keep her outside for a few years, promising to make it up to her later. But what about now? At least the concubines are officially recognized, while she is merely a secret mistress, far inferior even to a concubine. The children she bore are also lowly offspring of a mistress, looked down upon wherever they go. So he actually can take concubines, right? I looked deeply at Jiang Mai and said sorrowfully, Cousin, I'm useless. I haven't been able to bear a child for my husband. He said that once one of the concubines becomes pregnant, the child will be registered under my name and raised as a legitimate son. With an expression of longing, I said, I love children the most. Now, I'm just waiting to see whose belly will show first. The first boy to be born will be the legitimate son of the Liu family. I wonder who will be so fortunate. Donga chimed in with a smile. Madam, don't be anxious. The doctor said that all 3 concubines are in good health and fertile. There might be good news next year, and the household will certainly be lively. Just as she was speaking, the sharp sound of a porcelain shattering suddenly rang out. The sound was crisp and abrupt. It was the cup in Jiang Mai's hand. Jiang Mai abruptly stood up, her expression twisted and terrifying. She spat out a few words through gritted teeth. Since I'm already here, I might as well see him. If my cousin is busy, then I'll go to him myself. I exchanged a glance with Donga and smiled knowingly. That's more like it. Why hate me? Go hate Luja. It was Luja's bad idea. Luja who grew to despise you. And it was Luja who indirectly caused the deaths of your children. He is the one to blame. When Jiang Mai and I arrived, Luja was drinking and dining with a concubine. Seeing both Jiang Mai and me appear at the same time, Luja choked on his drink and fell off his stool. Cough. 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 Wife. This is. Luja was so frightened that he was almost out of his wits, his tongue stumbling as he spoke. He was terrified that Jiang Mai would tell me about that incident, feeling extremely guilty. Husband, I've brought my cousin along. Are you busy, husband? I said with a smile. Luja hesitated. Cousin. Jiang Mai let out a cold laugh, her teeth almost grinding to pieces. Cousin, long time no see. You're so busy with important matters. So I had no choice but to come find you. Luja steadied his nerves and quickly regained his composure. Seeing my expression, he must have assumed that Jiang Mai hadn't said anything yet, and he quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Cousin, why are you here? When did you arrive? And what did you talk about with your cousin-in-law? There was a subtle hint of threat in Luja's tone. I felt an instant connection with cousin-in-law and we talked about quite a lot. Would you like to join in, cousin? If it weren't for my presence, Jiang Mai would have almost lost control and started shouting. Now she was also about to lose control. Luja's gaze at me was filled with panic. He glared fiercely at Jiang Mai, afraid that I would notice something. I knew that if I stayed any longer, it would interfere with their dog-eat-dog dynamic, so I decided to leave under the pretense of an excuse. Since my cousin has traveled far to visit, I'm sure you siblings have a lot to catch up on. I still have some accounts to settle at the shop, so I'll take my leave. You two chat. Luja still managed to show concern for me, saying, then I'll catch up with my cousin. Don't overwork yourself, my dear. I left with Donga. Just before we departed, Donga gave a meaningful look to Jiang Mai's personal maid. After I left, Luja pulled Jiang Mai into the study and ordered that no one was allowed to enter, with the maid standing guard outside. Why are you here? Go back now. Luja scolded loudly. Jiang Mai's eyes were filled with rage as she demanded, didn't you say Fang Qingkue wouldn't let you take a concubine? Didn't you say Fang Qingkue didn't want to adopt a child? You liar, you're the one who killed my child. Now you have a woman, money, and soon you'll have a child. What about me? What about my child's death? Luja suppressed his temper and explained, I don't know why Fang Qingkue suddenly changed. Maybe after returning to her family home and being consoled by her family, she came to understand. Only after our child died did she agree to me taking a concubine, which I didn't expect. Jiang Mai's voice was sharp. Didn't expect. My 2 children are dead, and you just brush it off with didn't expect. Luja was getting impatient. He didn't want to bring up this matter again. What can we do? The dead cannot be brought back to life. If you want to blame someone, blame their bad luck. Hearing this, Jiang Mai completely broke down, her entire demeanor resembling that of a madwoman, crying and
ill woman, and her health isn't good, consider it doing a good deed. before Luja could say anything more. I interrupted him. Your complexion looks good lately. Are Madam Shia and the others taking good care of you? Not bad, I smiled lightly. As long as you like it, my lord. Jiang Mai's health is failing, and Luja's isn't much better. Wanting a child, dream on in your next life. I will make sure the Lu family ends with no heirs. Jiang Mai settled into the residence, and with each bowl of the potent 10-ingredient tonic she consumed, her frail body simply couldn't withstand the strength of the medicine. Of course, the main reason was the addition of that particular substance in the tonic. Jiang Mai wasn't one to stay quiet. She frequently sought out Luja, pressuring him for an explanation, and Luja was growing increasingly exasperated. I knew Jiang Mai wouldn't reveal the truth about the ice lake to me, because provoking Luja too much wouldn't benefit her either. She merely wanted to threaten him into allowing her to enter the household as a secondary wife. That slap had already made Jiang Mai wary. She knew that Luja's words were definitely not just a scare tactic. He dared to kill his wife, so of course, he would dare to kill her. That's why Jiang Mai didn't dare to tell me the truth. I often mentioned in front of Jiang Mai that the firstborn boy would be registered under my name, as the sole heir of the Lu family, in order to provoke her. At the same time, I kept a close eye on Luja's movements, because I had a vague suspicion that sooner or later, Jiang Mai would push Luja to his limits, and he might do something drastic. But I didn't expect that before Luja made any move, Jiang Mai caused trouble first. Seeing that Luja always slept with those 3 concubines, Jiang Mai was anxious. She once again set her sights on the position of the first wife's son and quickly took action. I curled my lips. Luja refuses to give her the position of a secondary wife. She's gone mad. Dornga's eyes sparkled. It's still the madam who is wise, stepping aside and letting those 2 fight like dogs. We were in the middle of our conversation when a maid outside rushed in, her face pale with panic. It's bad, madam, master, he. I exchanged a glance with Dornga, and sure enough, something had gone wrong. Madam Lu, Master Lu barely survived and will need to rest in bed from now on. The doctor wiped the sweat from his forehead. I looked sorrowful. How could this happen? After all the doctors left the room, I gave Dornga a meaningful look, signaling her to spread the news around the city that the Lu family master was bedridden and paralyzed. At that moment, Luja had just taken a bowl of bitter medicine and lay weakly in bed. I had the servants remove the heated floor tiles used for warmth. Only the 2 of us remained in the room now. Madam, it's all Jiang Mai's fault for reducing me to this state. I should have killed her long ago. My body was always strong. But it's all because of that wretch. I shouldn't have drunk the water she poured for me. Where is she now, madam? You must avenge me and grind her bones to ashes. Luja struggled and cursed loudly, followed by violent coughing, as if he were about to cough out his lungs. Madam, why did you remove the heated floor? I'm so cold. I looked down at him from above, speaking coldly. Cold? I feel quite hot. Despite being on the verge of death, your temper remains as fiery as ever. Jiang Mai is at least your woman, and she has borne your children. How can you so casually threaten to harm her? Luja's heart skipped a beat, and he spoke with heightened emotion. Wife, what did that vile woman tell you? Don't believe a word she says. She's a malicious wretch, slandering me and trying to sow discord between us. I smirked, exposing his hypocritical mask. Luja, stop pretending. Jiang Mai took Lu Mingzhu to the ice lake, trying to lure me into jumping in. It was your idea. Actually, I wasn't asleep that day at all. Surprised, aren't you? Originally, Lu Mingzhu was your only child in this world, and you killed her yourself. Luja's eyes widened in horror. You know everything. Although Luja was a despicable person, he was very clever. In a moment, he realized what was going on. You planned this on purpose, pretending you didn't know, deliberately giving me concubines, deliberately suggesting to adopt my illegitimate child. What are you trying to do, Fang Qingkue? You're scheming against me. Luja coughed violently again, suddenly bursting into tears. His tears and snot mingling together. Madam, I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. Please forgive me, won't you? It was all Jiang Mai. She seduced me. It was all her idea. She asked me when you would return. Which road you would take. I truly didn't know anything. Madam, it's my fault for not telling you sooner. Jiang Mai is my concubine, and I was afraid it would upset you, but I never expected her to have such vicious intentions, to actually want to harm you. I laughed out loud, even to the point of laughing until tears came to my eyes. Luja, your acting is truly terrible. When you used Baoju's death to scheme against me, you were already dead in my heart. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Jiang Mai panicked and ran away. I had someone bring her back. She fainted during the struggle and is lying in the room next to yours. I gently wiped away the teardrops from the corner of my eyes. You despicable couple, may you linger on your sickbeds until death. I'll make sure someone takes good care of you. Come here. In Luja's incredulous gaze, I called someone to replace the winter quilt covering him with an old, thin blanket. This blanket was hard, thin, and provided very poor warmth. It was a discarded one used by a servant. How could he possibly deserve a fine cloud-patterned brocade quilt? Fang Qingkue, what do you mean? What are you trying to do? I am the head of the Lu family. Do you dare to mistreat me? Where is Qingshan? Where is Qingshan? Qingshan. Doesn't my husband know? Qingshan stole family property and was sent to the authorities by me. You will never see Qingshan again, I said calmly. Luja's pale face twisted. Qingshan is my confidant. You deliberately left me without anyone by my side. You've wanted to kill me all along, haven't you? I was very candid. Yes, my husband has guessed it again, Luja exclaimed in terror. Fang Qingkue, you want my life? No, we are husband and wife. You can't do this. I left with my servants, leaving him with my final words. Husband, your retribution has only just begun. Enjoy it slowly. An endless wave of panic slowly surged in Luja's heart. Lying in bed, unable to move, he felt like fish on a chopping board, at my mercy. How could he not be afraid? The old thin blanket had a foul smell, and Luja roared impotently. He wanted to get out of bed, but fell to the ground instead. Fang Qingkue, you bitch, whore, you set a trap for me from the beginning. You want to harm me, to let me die here sick, you vicious whore, you'll die a horrible death. Madam, I was wrong. I was blinded by greed. Madam, I've always loved you. Come back, Fang Qingkue. Come back to me. Luja's curses continued non-stop, alternating between insults and pleas. He was terrified, now bedridden, barely clinging to life. He feared I would deliberately torment him. Lock the door securely. I instructed the servant at the door. Yes, madam. Luja and Jiang Mai live in a very secluded courtyard. I arranged for 2 household servants to guard it, both brought from my maternal family, reliable people. Glancing back at the courtyard, I took a deep breath. The cold air entering my lungs, chilling my chest, and my mind clearer than ever before. I finally avenged myself. Donga supported my arm and said, Madam, won't you go see the concubine? She and the master are about the same, both bedridden and unable to move. No, let's go back. The medicine in that red porcelain bottle is still being used, and so, Luja and Jiang Mai lived the same life I did in my previous life, tormented by illness every day, without even the strength to get out of bed. The food sent to them was cold and spoiled, and the water had even frozen into ice, requiring them to thaw it themselves to drink. Jiang Mai couldn't hold on first, dying within a month. What a useless person. In my previous life, I managed to hold on for half a year. At first, Luja begged me, but later, probably giving up, he kept cursing me, spewing all kinds of vicious curses, saying I would go to the 18th level of hell. What a coincidence. I crawled out from hell. So I'm not afraid of going to the 18th level of hell. How does it feel to lie in bed waiting to die? In just 3 months, Luja had withered into a skeleton, looking quite terrifying. Now, he didn't even have the strength to curse at me. One of Luja's legs was frostbitten, covered in grotesque frostbite. Though unable to speak, the hatred in his eyes was palpable, as if he wanted to kill me. Luja, you don't need to look at me like that. If I had fallen for the trap and jumped into the icy lake, my fate would have been the same as yours. You were the one who tried to harm me first. This is just karma. By the way, the Fang family is expanding its business. I have already decided to merge the Lu family's business into the Fang family. From now on, my brother will take full control of the Lu family's business. and there will be no more Lu family. Luja glared at me desperately, gasping heavily, with more breaths out than in. Stimulated by me, Luja passed away that very night. After Luja's death, I knew it was time for me to go where I was meant to be. The next day, I entrusted many things to Donga, returned her indenture papers, and gave her 5,000 taels in silver notes. In my previous life, she was dragged down by me, so this time I should make amends. As for my other trusted aides, the same applies. Bai Feng suddenly arrived at my residence. Qing Kuei, come with me, will you? I shook my head. I have a place I must go to. Take care. Bai Feng, Fang Qing Kuei, your obsession is gone, and your grudges are settled. Come with me. The judge of the underworld's voice echoed softly. I knelt on the ground, kowtowing deeply. Yes, thank you, Your Honor, for your kindness. What does it matter if I serve for 1,000 years? They shouldn't have used my precious bead to scheme against me. I don't know what it entails to serve in the underworld, or what price I must pay, but I feel it's worth it. Even if it means being fried in oil every day, I am willing. You're new here. I'll find someone to guide you. Follow her and learn well. Understand? I nodded obediently. I understand, servant. A childish girl's voice rang out. Is this the new servant? What's your name? Come with me. I froze in place. The voice was so familiar, the one I had heard countless times in my dreams. I stiffly turned around, and tears immediately poured down my face. Baozhu, after hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.